All right, let's do it. Good morning. Good morning. Please mute yourself if you're not on camera. How are you guys doing today? I hope you are doing awesome. We're going to jump in a little bit different than we normally do. I'm going to totally put aside the script because you know me. We've been doing this long enough, and I want to get into training because we are blessed today, you guys. We're going to have such an amazing time. And I don't know if I told you, I have some awesome guest speakers lined up for you today. And one of them is just a dear friend. I actually met him when I lived in Vegas. We took a bunch of our attendees to go see his show. He performed in a show called, let me get where I can see all of you guys. Have you guys ever heard of the show Defending the Caveman? Has anyone heard of that show before? Oh, a bunch of heads are nodding. Awesome. Who's been to the show? Who's been and thought it was hysterical? Good. Manette, let's bring you up. Manette, how was the show? How was Defending the Caveman for you?
It was so funny. I was crying the whole time in laughter.
Oh, nice. Good. That's what we want. And so I'm not going to do a lot of teaching. I'm going to let Kevin do the teaching for this portion. And who Kevin Burke is to me is just this lovable, wonderful, awesome human being. Who he is professionally and who he is in the world. When you talk about people who are in the top, the 80-20 rule, like there's 20% of the people that do most of the work, that kind of a thing. He's not in the top 20%. He's not in the top 10%. He's probably like a top 1% in the world of performers. He's absolutely brilliant. And I actually have his more formal bio here. Kevin toured USA and Europe in Defending the Caveman. He was Vegas Entertainer of the Year in 2008. He's been in public relations. He set the Guinness World Record for the most theatrical performances in 50 days. That's still held, I believe, in Las Vegas. He was an instructor at Stage Time University, which Darren LaCroix teaches people how to succeed in Toastmasters type of speaking. And Kevin coached people. We'll have to get his numbers, but I believe he had more than a couple of people like reaching the finals in the entire world, which is unbelievable. He was, if you guys have ever heard of, which one is it? I just blanked on the one he went to. He was one of the founding members in Improv Olympics, and he was in the student and the teacher track in Chicago at Second City. He's been on Oprah, NPR, Talk of the Nation, NBC TV's Friday Night, etc. And if you guys remember ABC TV's old show, America's Funniest People, Kevin won, and he won a $10,000 grand prize on America's Funniest People. So you guys, please give a huge round of applause. Put them up, make some noise wherever you are for Mr. Kevin Burke. Welcome up, Kevin.
Whee! Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's talk about humor in speeches. Now, you might be surprised to find out that I am completely uninterested in comedy, and I'm completely uninterested in jokes. And the reason I'm uninterested in those things is that those are artificial constructs. Those are overlays that people put over reality in order to get laughs. And if your goal is to be a stand-up comic, then by golly, those are the tools for you. But if you're a speaker who's out there trying to open hearts and open minds, humor is the tool that you want in your toolbox. What is humor? It is your unique to you and to nobody else take on the world. It is your observations of the things that happen around you that you find funny, okay? For example, I as part of being a fancy schmancy Las Vegas headliner, I got to walk a lot of red carpets. And when you get onto a red carpet, the press is all there. There's 50 press people. They've all got cameras, and they're pointing the cameras going, look this way, and all you hear, and you're blinded by all the lights. It's a lot of fun. It makes you feel like you might be important. Well, I got to walk the red carpet for the opening night of Jersey Boys in Las Vegas. And this was as star-studded an affair as I have ever seen in my life. All the living original members of the Four Seasons were there. Frankie Valli, Tommy DeVito, Bob Gaudio, they were all there. that one, oh, and I can't remember her name, that one woman who was one of Hef's 3 girlfriends on the reality show that did her own show in Vegas. She was there. Rita Rudner was there. And all the celebrities sort of line up to walk out onto the red carpet and get their pictures taken. Now, check this out. On the red carpet, I was between John O'Hurley and John Cleese. It was, I'm just looking to my right and looking at my left, going, oh my God, I'm behind these guys. This is great. I'm between these guys. So John O'Hurley walks out onto the red carpet, and then I walk out on the red carpet a few feet later, and then John Cleese from Monty Python walks out a few feet later, and the press is going nuts. They're like, Mr. O'Hurley over here, Mr. Cleese over here, Mr. O'Hurley, Mr. Cleese, Mr. O'Hurley, Mr. Cleese. And I'm kind of like going, finally, one lone voice goes, Kevin Burke. And I'm hopeful, like, yeah. They go, get out of the way. Well, that was the end of my that was the end of that particular red carpet bit of fun. Now, that story that I just told you has no jokes in it. There are no jokes. There is only the truth of what happened. And that's why it's funny. That's why it's valuable. That's why it's good, because it's unique to me. Nobody else can tell that story. Nobody else can tell a version of that story. That story is mine, just as your stories are yours. So what I'd like you to, the only humor technique I'd like you to observe in that story that I just told is that I saved the part that makes it funny for the very last. That is a key in writing humor. You save the funny part for last. If I'd have said I was on a red carpet between John O'Hurley and John Cleese, and they told me to get out of the way, and then I went and told you the whole rest of the story, well, then it wouldn't have been funny, because I just gave you the funny part right at the beginning. So always save the funny part for last. The last word should be the funny part. If not the last word, the last handful of words. Save it for last. Write that down. That is worth paying attention to. Now, how do you mine the humor in your daily life? How do you take what's around you and what happens to you and find the humor in it? Well, you keep your eyes open. You know, so many people are so busy with cell phones taking pictures of things that they aren't in the moment. They aren't taking it all in. They aren't letting it affect them. So you have to be open to the world around you. And you have to filter it through your own personal sense of humor. Now, my personal sense of humor is very dry, as was my dad's. My dad had a super dry sense of humor. If Kat, you and I are friends, we know each other, so I'm just going to name you just for an example. If Kat and I were out on one of our first dates and we were having dinner with my parents at a nice restaurant, my dad would look at Kat and say, Kat, I have to apologize. We brought you to a really nice place. You want to make sure you know how to use a knife and fork, right? That was my dad. My dad had this super dry sense of humor. He and I argued all the time about him smoking because I hated it and he smoked 2 packs a day. And eventually he died from lung cancer. And it's okay. It happened over 30 years ago. I'm past it. But the fun part is, I was at the fun part of my dad dying of cancer. We were at the funeral, we're at the gravesite, and the pallbearers were juggling, just trying to figure out where we were going to, get the coffin as it came out of the hearse. I reached down and grabbed the handle, and right next to my hand on the coffin lid, and only right next to my hand, was a neat little pile of cigarette ashes. It was like my dad's final bit of dry humor. And I started laughing wildly inappropriately at his funeral, because to me that was hilarious. My mom had a more slapstick sense of humor. And so when I was putting her ashes into a lake that we all went to when I was a kid, they were in a plastic bag that was inside of a box. And I opened the top of the plastic bag and I turned it over and I spread the ashes out and I tapped the bottom of the box just to make sure that all the ashes came out. out came the plastic bag, and behind that, a bazillion little styrofoam packing peanuts that blew in every possible direction and covered the shore where I was standing. And that was my mom. My mom's sense of humor was much more slapstick. Now, both of those are very solemn events, but the humor of it just jumped out and grabbed me and made the pain a little more bearable. And that is why humor exists. Humor exists to enable us to push back the darkness just a little bit for ourselves and for others. Jase, how are we doing so far?
Awesome.
Thank
Yeah.
you for that input, Jase. Okay, moving on.
Well, you guys, I'm a big believer. Kevin is and just for you guys as you craft your programs. Remember we said you don't have to deliver all of it, find the world's best and let them do it. So the reason I'm not on camera, I mean, there's times Kevin and I will teach things during events together, but I just think he's brilliant. So I think when you find people who are brilliant, turn them loose to be their brilliance. And Kevin, just rip with it. If you want to get feedback or do exercises that I can facilitate, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna just let you rip.
Okay, so now you speak for different audiences. You speak on the same topic, but you speak for different audiences. How can you customize your humor for those audiences? Find out what their pain point is. Find out what's frustrating the people. Was there a parking nightmare as they were on their way into the event? Was there, did they have to walk, 10,000 miles down various hallways to get to the convention center? Were there problems at the registration desk? Or are there things in their industry that are driving them crazy? I know that if you're speaking to healthcare professionals, electronic health records, they drive doctors and nurses crazy because generally the system being used in any given institution is from the lowest bidder. So it drives them nuts. Find the things that drive them nuts and then find a humorous observation to make about whatever it is that's driving them nuts to help them ease the pain and push back the darkness just a little bit. So let's my favorite way to access humor, because humor is basic and it's human and it's real. And my favorite way to access humor is through improvisation, because improvisation takes away your critical thinking, it takes away all of your preconceptions, and it takes away your pre-planning, and it forces you into the moment, because you can't improvise if you're not in the moment. So Jase, just to prep for this exercise, I'm going to say let's plan on putting people in breakout rooms of 2s. And if we have an odd number, one breakout room can have 3. So if you want to go ahead and get those breakout rooms lined up, and then I'll give you the go. So as Jase has just learned from taking Improv 1, a big principle in improv is yes and. So whatever reality your scene partner creates, you accept it as real. And then the and part, that's the yes, the and part is you add to it. Jase, if you could unmute for a second.
Yes.
I believe that painting behind you is a 1925 Kandinsky.
Oh, you're a Kandinsky fan, are you? Yes, Kandinskys are one of the most popular types of Boise art that there is, made from the Kandinsky region of France.
Yes, the Kandinsky region of France, which is right next to the Champagne region of France. So unless it's from the Kandinsky region, it's just a sparkling painting.
Yes, that's exactly correct. Yes, and I find them frankly just not nearly as good. Your eyes can taste the difference. And I believe you're about to travel over to Kandinsky, aren't you? Are you going by train or plane?
I'm moving there, as a matter of fact. I'm moving there this winter, just in time for the fall festival of chestnuts.
Oh, I've always wanted to go to the fall festival of chestnuts. It's amazing. Funny fact, they sell more almonds than chestnuts at the Chestnut Festival.
Well, you weren't supposed to reveal that, but okay. So everybody, you see how Jason, I just accused his abstract painting of being a Kandinsky, which of course it is not, but that's just the first name that popped into my head. And Jase took it, ran with it. He added information to it. I took that and added information to what Jase was saying. He took it and added information to what I was saying. That is the concept of yes and. Now, let's do the opposite of that, and we'll do a denial. Jase, you go ahead and start a scene with me.
Kevin, I hear that you're about to go to France. How exciting. I'm so excited for you.
I hate France. I have no interest in going there.
Oh, where are you going then?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying home. There's a pandemic.
Well, don't you want to go though? To get out of
Nope.
the house? It's kind of
Nope.
boring.
Not even a little bit. Okay, see there, I just shut
Ugh.
Jase down by denying everything he said. How did that feel for me to do that to you, Jase?
Yeah, it's horrible. It reminds me how some people are on sales calls too. It's just like so not fun at all.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't fun for you to experience me negating everything you say, and it wasn't fun for me to negate everything you say. It made me feel terrible.
No,
So-
the conversation goes nowhere. It kills the aliveness of the communication.
Yes. Creation is based on building, not on tearing down. As my improv teacher, Del Close, and in fact, if anybody wants to watch a documentary on an absolute lunatic who is an absolute genius at improv, there's a documentary out called For Madmen Only. Warning, there is language. It's a story of Del Close, and there are two things that Del said that stuck with me. He said, one, we are creating theater of the heart. And boy, that is what I would love for you to do every time you step in front of an audience, is create theater of the heart. Every time you stand up to speak, it's theater. It's a performance. It is a performance for that specific audience. It exists in that little bubble of time, and then poof, like a soap bubble, it goes away. So make it worthwhile. Create theater of the heart. The second thing that Del said, and I think this is even more important, if you want to be surrounded by artists and poets, treat everybody around you as though they are artists and poets. And that goes to the heart of yes and. If I treat Jase like an artist and a poet and accept everything he says and add to it, then I'm taking care of Jase in our little scene. If he does the same for me, he's taking care of me. And if we're taking care of each other, everybody's taken care of. It's so simple, but it is so brilliant. Now, before I give you instructions and send you off to breakup rooms, does anybody have any questions over the concept of yes and?
How familiar are you guys with yes and? Is this your first introduction? Raise your hand if this is your first time to even hear this concept of yes and. Okay, raise your hand. Put your hands down, please. Raise your hand if you've heard of it, but you haven't yet practiced with it. Okay, last group, you've heard it and you've practiced it. So Kevin, can you give them a little bit more on it, a little bit more on what you want them to do, and a little bit more on the concept?
Yeah, sure. We simply agree. Now, if Jay says, let's go murder puppies, okay? I don't have to agree with the concept of murdering puppies, but I have to accept what he says as the reality that we are creating together. So if Jay says, let's go murder puppies, I can say, yep, the people down the street have a new litter of Dalmatians. Let's get you a new pair of gloves. I can do that. Or if I am philosophically opposed to murdering puppies, I can say, well, Jase, we can do that. But you know that your therapist said that if we do that again, you're going to be consumed with racking guilt tomorrow. And that leads you to that dark place. So now we are off in a different tangent, even though we're accepting that Jase wants to murder puppies. So if I say to Bridget, that is a yellow shirt. And Bridget responds with, yes, it's my favorite. I got it at Lord and Taylor. And then I say, I saw it. I saw it on the sale rack. I almost bought it for my wife, but I'm so glad that okay, see, so there we are. Yes, and yes, I accept the gift that you've given me. And here's some more information to go along with it. So let's do a real super simple yes and exercise. Jase is going to send you to the blackout rooms. And while you are there, you and whoever there's with you, you are going to plan the ultimate New Year's Eve party. Now, if your partner says, I want a Chardonnay fountain, then by golly, there shall be a Chardonnay fountain. That's yes. No, and negating would be, I don't like Chardonnay. Let's have Beaujolais. See that, that does not, that stops the scene and puts you guys at odds with each other. And the other thing I would say is don't ask a lot of questions in your scene. If you're asking a lot of questions of your partner, you're forcing them to do all the creating without carrying your share of the load. So, if I say to Jeff, why do I keep saying Jeff? I keep thinking of the Cubs game. If I say to Jase, we're going to have Casey and the Sunshine Band at our New Year's Eve party.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I love them. Let's have them play Boogie Night. That's one of my favorite songs. And
yeah, absolutely. And for the money that we're going to pay them, we should have them play at least 4 or 5 of their hits, I think.
Yes. Let's get smoke machines and bubble machines too.
Bubble machines? I love bubbles. I love bubbles. We could fill it with that stuff that makes it smell like bubble gum. So it will be like doubly ironic. Bubbles that smell like bubble gum.
We can have bubble gum there too. This is great. Well, it'll be the bubble party.
Okay. Now, I defy anybody here watching Jason and I talk. I defy any of you to say, that's a party I don't want to go to. So go off into the breakout rooms.
Yes. Real quick before we do that, Kevin, could you guys turn on your cameras if you're here? You guys, when we put you in rooms, there's a few people with cameras off, so I'm not sure if they're participating. If you get into a room and your partner's not there, come back to the main room and we'll put you into a new room. I think almost everyone's on camera. And also, so come back to the main room if your partner isn't there. And then there's just a couple of rooms that have 3 people. So every other room has 2 people.
I have one question.
Yes.
What is the overall idea of this improv? How is it related to humor as such? I mean, is this a conversation? It looks like it is a lively conversation.
So let me, I want to share this from the point of view of sales, and then Kevin will answer from the point of humor. You guys, from the point of sales, learning improv and this tool right here will make you way more sales. Why? Well, remember when Kevin shut down the conversation, how the aliveness just died? That's what happens in some sales calls. People will be a no, or we'll be a no, and then the aliveness dies. If we can learn to accept that their reality is their current reality and then add to it, then we have a chance to shift them to new reality. But only if we add to it and the aliveness of the conversation continues. And then Kevin, how about from the point of view of comedy?
So improv is about genuine, real human communication. It's about stripping away all the pretense. It's about stripping away everything you've pre-planned that you think you're going to say, because your scene partner might change the direction of the scene in the last 3 words they speak. And if you're thinking ahead to what you're going to say, instead of focusing with laser-like intensity on your scene partner, it can all come crashing down around you. How does that relate to humor? Humor is basic human-to-human communication. Now, the story that I told you about the red carpet, I submit that that is an extremely humorous story. But if I say to you, a guy walks into a bar, he says, ouch. Okay, that's funny. That's funny, right? But it doesn't deepen any communication between us. You don't learn anything about me, and I'm not sharing anything about me with you. And the most direct line between you and adding humor to your speech is getting all your self-critical, and this is for everybody, all your self-critical crap out of the way and returning your thinking and your impulses to that of a small child.
Yes.
A small child picks up a stick and it's a magic wand, or it's a sword, or you know, it's one of these things where you look at things far away. My Alzheimer's is kicking in. It's whatever their imagination makes it, and it happens in a split second. You know, they don't think about it, they just do. And so improv tries to get us back to that state of impulse, where we were speaking out of impulse and genuine human communication. We are not going for jokes in improv, ever, ever, ever. The humor comes from the truth, and improv helps us get to the truth.
Yeah. So it's something I want to add on to. You guys, please write this down. You have, this is what I learned in the class I just took. You have two jobs. Your two main jobs are the following. One, be a deep listener. And before I tell you the second one, let me ask you guys a question. Do you remember what did Robert Kiyosaki say is the base skill for personal success? It's the number one most important skill. He talks about it in Rich Dad Poor Dad. He says this is the base skill for personal success. Does anyone remember? Put it in the chat if you remember. Nobody? Communication. Communication is the base skill for personal success. And he talks about the importance of sales. So when you're a speaker, you're communicating, obviously, and you have a relationship with your audience. And you're going to have relationships in daily life. Your second job at improv is to make your partner look good. That's what we learned. Listen deeply and make them look good. As a speaker, you want to listen deeply to your audience. You can feel and hear what they're saying without them saying the words. And then you want to make them look good. And then when you have a client, you want to listen deeply and make them look good. And if you have family, listen deeply and make them look good. So this will help you be better all across the board in your communications. Does that land for you guys? Yes, great, cool. All right, Kevin, thanks. Let me jump in on that.
Yeah, no problem. And so the more that you can open yourself up and communicate in the moment, deeply listening to your partner, the easier it becomes for you to access humor. And I guarantee you, funny things will happen during the course of the following improv, as long as you don't force it and try to make it funny. So here's what you're doing. You are planning the ultimate New Year's Eve. Do I have a specific recommendation for making them look good? Yes. Accept what they say and add to that. Add to whatever information and reality that they have given you. Accept it, add to it. Listen to what they're saying and respond to what they're saying without pre-planning what you're going to say. That is the biggest gift you can give your scene partner. So let's try it. Then we'll come back and talk about it. And then we'll try something else. Jase is going to send you off to the bunkhouse. You are going to create the world's ultimate New Year's Eve party. You have unlimited money and unlimited technology. Whatever you conceive can be created and can be paid for. Those are the only two preconditions. So go and play. That's the key part. Go, play, and have fun.
Rooms are open. Right, yep, there he goes. All right, I think probably Aaron and Rod aren't in the room.
And then bring them back.
Powerful, so powerful. I think that's Aaron has an app that takes notes. I think that's what's in that. What's happening.
Okay.
Welcome back. Hey, Dale. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I think we're all back. Nope, now we're all back.
Look at Ramesh smiling his face off.
I don't see him. Let's bring Ramesh up. Where is Ramesh? There he is. Let's bring Ramesh up on stage. And Ramesh, who was your partner?
We had Christine and
Susie.
sorry, I'm trying to locate.
Christy Brother. She's great. I'm looking for you guys so I can bring you up on stage as well. There's Susie.
Yeah, Susie and Christine.
So how was it? Tell us about, well, Kevin, go ahead. You can ask some questions.
Yeah, Ramesh, tell us about your New Year's Eve party.
Oh, that's great. You know, we already created a huge, massive party. It is going to be on a yacht. It will have a costume party. It will have some illusionist performing things, and it will have lots of drinks, all different types of drinks. It will have karaoke music going on, and there will be very choice, a lot of choices of food. It is going to be a grand party.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Boom, there it is, right there, right there. There's the laugh I was looking for, right there. See, there it is. There it is. Humor comes out of genuine communication. That is it. Thank you, Ramesh. You are my first victory of the day. Thank you.
How about you guys, Susie, Christine? What would you like to share about it?
Oh, it was so natural. It was just so easy. I had done it prior to this, but we were so intent on the yes and I realized after you guys demoed it, it's like, no, just the conversation flowed, and it was great. And Ramesh did a great job. I mean, it was great.
Was there laughter during the planning?
Yes. Mhm. Mhm.
Excellent.
Good. How about you, Susie? You want to add anything?
Yeah, it was terrific. And I've had a little bit of experience with it before, and it definitely, you have to be detached, right? Because you think you know where you want it to go, but you pass it off. You just take what it gets served back to you. So, you kind of have ideas to shape, but there's no attachment. So definitely being present is, definitely applies in a lot of areas too. So I appreciated that, in leading up to it and framing it.
Cool.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the improv, is that there is no goal in mind. The process is the goal. So being detached from any sort of outcome is the ideal state from which to approach it.
Perfect. Let's send them a big whoosh, guys. Ready in? Whoosh. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
Thank
I got it. All right, hang on, Jase. I'm going to say right now, since you've gone virtual,
Yes.
your whooshes are far less enthusiastic and
Oh.
propulsive.
Let's do about it. Thank you. Thank you for the catch. All right, let's send them a big whoosh, picturing them being present and connecting in all their life. And whoosh. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
There we go.
There
I
we
like
go.
it.
Yeah,
I
good
like
to hang out with people that keep you on track. Awesome. Let's bring up Mary Jo and Sonia. I'm looking for you, Sonia. I will have you up here in just 1 second. Mary Jo, what was your experience doing that?
Hey, that was great. That was a lot of fun. We started out, Sonia said she wanted lots and lots of animals. And so I put those animals in a big atrium with multiple levels. She made the atrium half the size of a stadium. I mean, it went on and on. Take it, Sonia.
We were time traveling. There was like a time capsule now. So there was lateral realities because they can go around the stadium and do different types of music. And then there was vertical realities because you can travel time. And then there was like even a place from you're partying all night, but there was also like a place where you can come to one of those isolation eggs or detox with juices or get a massage. And we decided that our party was going to be like a whole week long because just one night was not enough. And we're celebrating New Year's like multiple times because of the lateral. We're going to make our atrium right in the middle of 2 time zones, so you'd celebrate it twice. It was just all over the place. It was great.
It was
That's
fun.
awesome.
It was really fun.
And you guys notice it's so much fun to create unlimitedly.
Yeah.
And I have a question for everyone on this call. When you're writing your presentation or creating your business, do you create unlimitedly or do you edit as you go? And editing as you go is the killer of creativity. It will just deaden everything. Instead, let yourself play fully. Edit later. There's plenty of time later to edit. Kevin, do you want to hear from more or move to the next piece? Thank you,
Oh,
ladies.
let's hear from one more group.
Let's send them a great big whoosh. Ready? Picture them being humorous on stage, not jokes, but full of humor and whoosh. Thank you, ladies. Awesome. Raise your digital hand. Who would like to share? Who would like to share? Otherwise, I'll just randomly call people up. All right, Loretta. Come on up, Loretta. And Loretta, let me find who your partner was.
It was Holly. Was it Holly? Yes.
Cool. Holly, you're up.
So our party was going, I was going to speak to British Airways and get Concorde brought back into operation. And we were going to fly around the world with like 200 guests, right? And Holly pointed out, it doesn't matter if Concorde crashed before, it doesn't matter, we could still use the Concorde. And we decided to dress people in what color, Holly?
Yeah, the purple, because it's gonna be the purple party people. You know, like Loretta is the master of like the ideal partner, that the stuff she throws out there is so creative and fun. And that like the riffing, she's like, we have to have the right footwear. And I'm like, fuzzy slippers. Like fuzzy slippers been trying to make a comeback, right? Because J-Lo, she was spotted and can't, but it's just like the leopard print fuzzy slippers. And she was so like, she's just a master at taking it and running with it.
Nice.
It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good ideas and I could see it happening. It possibly could happen.
Totally. Oh my God.
That's awesome. Cool. So it was fun. Anything else, Kevin?
Yeah, this is the kind of fun you should be having every time you present for an audience. You should be having this much fun every single time, because if you have this much fun, they'll have that much fun.
You don't have to tell me twice, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's nice to have these reminders. I think I've been under a lot of stress lately. I haven't been having as much fun on stage. And I know I personally always sell way more when I'm having more fun. I know I do much better in sales, and I think I'm much more impactful. Kevin, thank you, ladies. Let's send them a big wish. Let's picture them having fun in all areas of their business and life. Whoosh. Thank you, ladies. So Kevin, can you touch on why humor is important in the context of teaching and like what it does for an audience and to an audience when we add humor to the presentation, how it helps us be more effective?
Absolutely. The great secret of humor is that the audience is never as receptive and open to whatever your core message is. They're never as receptive as they are right after you've made them laugh. Laughter is an involuntary emotional and muscular response. You for a few seconds give up control of yourself to the person who has just made you laugh. You're open to everything. And that's the exact best time to slide in the medicine. You know, humor is the spoonful of sugar. And once they've gotten a mouthful of that, you slide in the medicine. They're never more open as they are when you've just made them laugh.
So, all right, so let's open it up for questions before we move to our next phase. Questions, comments, compliments, ahas, epiphanies. Raise your digital hand, please, because it'll move you to where I could actually see you. Arlene, come on up. We'll go Sonia next. Hi, Arlene.
So now I'm like being counterproductive because I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to make my audience laugh if I'm not really like I can do, like my partner and I, Trisha, we were laughing our heads off. But I'm thinking, okay, so I'm up on stage and I know you have to bring humor into it, but now I think I'm going to be trying too hard to bring humor into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I can see that. Just be you, just be delightfully you. What do you speak about?
I teach people how to get corporate sponsorship money to build their businesses.
Okay, all right. So what are some of the pain points of people who are trying to get corporate sponsorship money?
Oh, I see where you're going with that. Yeah. They don't have money to build their business. They don't have money to have the freedom they want. They want a second income. They don't realize what sponsorship is. So if they think it's not for them, they don't have money to do the things they want to do, and it's holding them back.
Okay, how's it holding them back?
Because somebody might want to hire a VA or build their business more, but they don't really have the money to, or they think they don't, or whatever the situation, to be able to hire that person, to be able to rent an office building, that type of thing.
Okay, and corporate sponsorship is the palliative for that? It's the cure?
Well, they can get funding. They can get funding to use to grow their business. It's money they don't have to give back, and it's money that they can grow with it because they can get a lot more recognition and eventually national and international recognition.
Okay, so you are a person who obviously has a sense of humor, and you just said something that can be extremely humorous in your speech. I'm going to paraphrase. Corporate sponsorship is free money. You don't have to give it back. See, I mean, it's as simple as that. It's as simple as that.
The way I express it.
Yeah, and you know, joyous and to the point.
That helped a lot, because now it's just expressing it more vividly, openly, and you can even be a little outlandish with it.
Sure, the way you just planned your party.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Let's send a whoosh to Arlene, where she knows that who she is able to connect and have fun and make it humorous. Ready, in? Whoosh. Nice. Thank. So let me, we'll get to the next question in a second. I want to show you guys something from the workbook. So one of our events is called Be Funny, Make Money, and it's the speaker's comedy camp. Kevin and I teach it together. So there's 3 parts. We call it the triangle for your humor. There's 3 elements that have to be there. Your material, what you say, the audience, the people with whom you're interacting, and your delivery. So as Arlene just pointed to, she's like, oh, I have to deliver in a humorous way. These 3 intertrend, the material, audience, and delivery, like a fire needs fuel, oxygen, and heat, humor needs these 3 ingredients. If you take one out, the whole fire goes out. So you've got to have good material, you've got to put in the work, you've got to have an audience that's there, and delivery. And the interplay, you guys, a lot of it is what you say doesn't even have to be that funny. It can be totally your delivery. And then also, as you get better and as you speak more and as you get a little bit of a reputation, part of what will happen to you is there'll be an expectation for you to be funny. And have you ever noticed that some people who are funny, just they could say whatever and everybody starts laughing like crazy? It's because there's already this expectation that they're going to be funny. So Kevin's like that for me. I've seen him and experienced him making me laugh so many times that now he says whatever he says, and I just think it's hysterical. Or that he's saying it is funny. Like earlier, he said a joke that wasn't funny, and I laughed because he said such a bad joke. Like when his point was, don't make jokes. So you guys get what I'm saying? So you got to have all 3 of these, and you got to put the work into having all 3 of these.
Yeah, can I jump in here, Jase, please?
Please do.
So put the triangle back up.
Oh, you want to back up? Yes.
Yeah, just for a second. So a very important part, and of course it is the apex of this particular triangle, is audience. Now that doesn't just mean having people there watching you. Audience means a lot of different things. It means the environment. Is it oppressively hot in the room? If it's oppressively hot, you know that people aren't going to laugh or be amused in any way. And you know that you're not going to sell anything because they're all just going, I want to get out of here. So the ambiance is very important. How close is the audience to you? If you're standing on a stage or a platform, and then there's a dance floor, and then there's the audience, this is a place where humor goes to die. That dance hole is a black hole that's going to suck all the humor into it, and it will never reach your audience. So if you're speaking to an audience, and there's a big gulf of space between you and the audience, do your best to shorten that gulf. If you can take the back row of chairs and move it to the front and then do it again so that they're right up close to you, that is huge. If they are spread out all over the auditorium or the space, if they're spread out all over the space, laughter doesn't get a chance to be contagious. Fire is contagious. It jumps from tree to tree. Those big spaces between audience members are like fire breaks that will stop the contagion of the laughter. So you want them all together in the same area, which is absolutely antithetical to COVID mitigation procedures, but in as much as possible and practical, get them together. If you have a 300-seat auditorium and you've only got 75 people, close off half the auditorium, the back half of the auditorium, and let them spread out in the front, but keep them together. Lighting and sound are huge. Oh, I'm going to tell you this. No matter what the meeting planner tells you, the overhead speakers in the convention center are not good. They're going to tell you they're good. They are not good. They're going to say, oh, these are fine. These are fantastic. They are not good. So if you are going to speak a lot for a living out in public, invest in your own sound system. You can get something from the Anchor Corporation. It'll be one speaker on a stand, and your mic rig that you buy can Bluetooth to it, and it'll fill the space, and it's very inexpensive. And I'm sure Jase can supply you with sources and tech notes because he is more technical than I am and better on the tech end. But I'm telling you, speakers in the ceiling are the death of an effective presentation, and they are double death to whatever humor is in your presentation. If there's bar service or drink service during your presentation, everybody's going to go to the bar. So try to get that shut down. You want the audience's focus on you. If you happen to be in an unfortunate situation where they say, okay, we're going to bring you up in a minute, but the president of the company is going to just go up and make a few welcoming remarks. Okay, you're not going on for an hour and a half because he's going to get up there or she's going to get up there and go, when my grandmother founded this corporation in 1892, she came here from Australia with nothing but $1 and they're going to go through the whole history of everything. So if you can get it written into your contract that you go on immediately after dinner or whatever, do that. And this is all part of audience, because we want the audience to be the most receptive to you that they can possibly be. Oh, and never follow the charity auction. Don't follow the charity auction. Go insist that you go before the charity auction. Okay, there, rant over. Back to you, Jase.
Why before the charity auction?
Because once the charity auction ends, nobody wants to hear you. They want to go up and collect their items that they won.
Yeah. So Kevin also, comes from he does a lot of keynote speaking and gets paid a fee to go speak at different conferences and conventions as well. So he has some advice and tips for you guys. Is that if you have questions about that?
I have been beaten down by every example I just gave you, sometimes more than once.
And you guys, that's one of the places I think humor comes from. Please write this down. Your worst times. That's where humor comes from. And so as you get experience, you're going to have some great times and some bad times. So talking about stage, Kevin, did I ever tell you about the hypnosis show I did at the bar? So when I was cutting my teeth, you guys, you're a garage band. And when I started my hypnosis show, I was like a garage band. I need to perform anywhere I can. I'm living in Las Vegas and I get into this nightclub and they're like, yeah, you could do a show here. And we're like, we'll put you on the dance floor. And I'm like, okay, great. So the dance floor, you guys, literally is a sunken dance floor. So I'm doing a hypnosis show where I'm supposed to have authority over the room. And instead of people looking up at a stage, which helps grant authority, they're literally looking down on me. So if they're literally looking down, then metaphorically, they're looking down. I have never had so many hecklers in my entire life. It was horrible.
You were literally in a pit.
Literally in a pit. Yeah. And it on all four sides. So like I couldn't like not have my back to the audience somewhere, right? So what I did though, it's like a thought, a play off of improv is the yes and. I got these people, I've never had so many people heckle me in my life. So check out what I did. I took one of the subjects and I said, you are now the world's biggest heckler. You think the show's BS. You think I suck. You think it's all fake. When I count to 3, you'll get out of your seat. You'll go back to the audience. You won't leave. You'll stay in the room, but you'll heckle me incessantly. 1, 2, 3, wide awake. So he wakes up and he looks at me and he goes, "This is all bullshit." And I go, "What? What?" I put the mic. He goes, "This is all bull. I'm not hypnotized." He goes back. He starts heckling me the entire show. "You stink. It's all fake," which is so great. So now it shows it works because he's doing what I told him to do. Every other heckler shut up. What are they going to say? I got this guy heckling me the whole time. It was awesome. Like it was such a great experience of joining with them. And then at the end of the show, I got the guy back because I have to remove all the suggestions. And I said, "Wide awake." And I said, "Hey, look at the camera," because we were filming. I said, "Tell the camera why this is a great show." And he goes, "Because you don't suck." It was such a perfect ending.
There you go. Sometimes that's the victory you go for. Hey, you didn't suck.
Yeah.
But that's a great example of making lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
If you're determined to have fun, somebody else is going to have fun with you. It might not be everybody, but it'll be somebody.
Yep. Let's bring Sonia up. Sonia, what was your question, comment?
Well, my comment was about hypnosis, actually. So it's wonderful that you shared that, because my takeaway is that the creativity, I have a story that I was like the part where you had to be creative and fun and make up anything possible is the part that I thought I was the worst at. And this was just like, hey, the more I practice this improv stuff and just in this infinity possibility universe, the better my business and my practice will be. So that's really cool. So thanks.
Nice. Very nice. Thank you.
Good. And that's what exercising yourself in this way will do for you, is it will also make you flexible to handle adverse situations like the one Jase faced. I had one. We were doing the show in Las Vegas, and I'm sure you heard, we had a very unfortunate and tragic event where 60 people were shot and killed. Now, a lot of shows closed down the next day. They just went, "We don't even want to deal with it." I got together with our team and said, "I think we should do our show because, everybody knows what happened, and anybody who shows up for our show, they want and need to laugh, and we need to be there for them, at least in that capacity, to make them laugh and forget their troubles and push back the darkness a little bit." And so we discussed it. We agreed, okay, the show will start with, first of all, backing up, you need to know that my show starts with a 7-minute video of myself and my wife in various funny domestic situations, silent comedy with music, and that sort of preps the audience. And by the way, write this down too, a long enough funny intro video is a free opening act for you. So we agreed that before the video.
Hold on. I don't know if they get the value of that.
Oh, yeah.
What he's saying is, because if your intro video is good and long like that, especially if you're doing a comedy show, it will warm them up before you take the stage. And so I have an intro video that's about 2-3 minutes, and it tells the story about when I spoke and the guy said it sucks that I was there. It creates rapport and authority with the audience before you even hit the stage. And it starts to get them to giggle and to warm up to me so that when I hit the stage, we already have a connection. Like they're already going. And then in the world of comedy, Kevin, why would an opening act be valuable for you in the world of comedy?
Oh, sure. Well, it's valuable for anybody because it settles the audience down, it focuses them and gives them an idea of what's to come.
So that's
And
why, let me jump
I'm
in
sorry, I
real quick.
don't know everybody. So who was it I was talking to about corporate funding?
Arlene.
Arlene, so if you had a quick 60-second video that showed a video of an entrepreneur with no money looking all sad, and then Megacorp handing him money, whatever, and then a voiceover going, in a world where entrepreneurs are having a hard time finding funding, Arlene has a solution. Coming to theaters this fall. Just something fun and light and amusing. So our plan was,
Kevin,
I was
let me
going to
jump
go
in on that before you leave that. So for you guys, everything we're teaching for comedy, you can map over to selling from stage. And so if an opening act is valuable in comedy, is an opening act valuable selling from stage? Absolutely. You may or may not have an intro video yet. That's one of the things, like as we have you guys rank up, that's one of the things we look for, is for you to get an intro video. In the meantime, get an opening act, meaning have an assistant or someone else take the stage and introduce you. If you think about it, even if there's just 8 people in the audience and the speaker comes on versus 8 people in the audience, someone else comes on, welcomes people, and then introduces the speaker. The positioning for the speaker just went up and the sales will go up. So even if it's your own, introduction, someone else does it. Does that make sense, you guys? And then a minimum thing you can do if you're speaking from a big stage and there's no one there to introduce you, you just jump on a mic and you put your announcer voice on and come into the stage and you introduce yourself. And then everybody get on your feet for Jase Souder. Then they do, and then I'll run up on stage and go, oh yeah, that was me who introduced myself. I might or might not tell them, but a lot of people actually do that. They'll grab the mic because they know how to get the crowd pumped up and get some energy. So start to map everything we're teaching you to the selling from stage arena.
Yes, and in order of preference, your own pre-produced video that you walk on immediately as the video finishes. Second preference, someone you've trained to do your intro and is enthusiastic because they're part of your team going out there and doing the intro. Next would be you doing your own offstage intro to flashing lights and, in the darkness. And then at the very bottom is some local functionary going on stage and introducing you. That is where your intro has the biggest potential of going straight down the toilet. So what you want to do, if you have that situation, is you want to write it out word for word, nice big capital letter, print it out. This is you have technology, you can print it out in everything in nice big capital letters so that they don't have to go, I didn't bring my glasses, I can't read this. What does it say? And you just say, here, just please read this as written, and you hope that they do. Your other thing is to get Mike Crow really drunk and have him come on stage and do your intro, and then you can't lose.
So also, guys, when you do your intro, make sure you put your name in there phonetically, how to pronounce it phonetically. Otherwise, even if you think it's obvious, otherwise they risk butchering it. And the reason Kevin said you don't want that local functionary, at a lot of the meetings where you'll speak, who's the person who wants the mic, the person who wants attention, the person who thinks they're good, or the person who's in that role? And usually none of them actually are good. So a lot of times what I'll say is just introduce me or roll the video. I'll introduce myself. I mean, introduce me, welcome me to stage, and then I'll handle because that's a part of our template is our introduction and who we are. So I'd rather me do it than someone who's going to butcher it do it. If they're good and if they're a pro, a lot of times I won't even send them bio. If I have a relationship, I'll just be like, hey, you know me, let's just talk about who we are. So did we answer the question, Sonia?
I once had local functionary read my intro and then say, well, I guess he claims he's a real funny bones. We'll be the judge of that. Here's Kevin Burke. I'm like, wow, could you poison pill me any harder, bro?
And you guys, don't tell them what you're going to talk about beyond what has to be printed. Because what will happen is that functionary thinks he's adding to your intro by going, oh, and Kevin's about to talk about this, and I have a thought on that topic, which is this, and how it's a, and now he's stealing your content. And literally, if you tell them your content, some of them will go, oh, he was just telling me such and such, and they'll literally do your content.
Yeah. So let me finish my little story and then we can move on. So we decided I would come out on stage and acknowledge the tragedy that had happened in Las Vegas and give a little pep talk. Hey, we're all here to have fun, though. We're gonna have good fun. Here's the opening video. But before any of this, during the pre-show, we had other funny videos playing of like dad saves, like where the kids, falling off the counter and the dad comes out of nowhere and makes the one-handed catch and those things. And that was all during the come-in for our show before the opening video. They were laughing so hard at these funny little pre-show videos that have nothing to do with the show, the video that starts the show, that they were laughing so hard that I immediately ran around to all the tech people and said, no curtain speech, no curtain speech, just do the show as normal, go straight to the opening video, because it was obvious that they were there to laugh and have a good time. Now, improv, I was listening to them. I was listening to them very closely. And because they were laughing, I knew that we didn't need to do a maudlin speech before we tried to do fun stuff. And the show was great. It was one of the best shows we ever had.
You guys, talking about that show that Kevin just gave, when I did my hypnosis show, almost every single show, I would have someone come up to me and say, I haven't laughed in years. Not I haven't laughed that hard in years. I haven't laughed in years. And what I learned was like going to a show like that and really being on point with the humor and also really good speaking. It's such a gift to someone's life. And sometimes because we talk so much about the sales, it's easy to lose sight. You guys, there's someone out there right now who's praying for an answer to a problem. And when you show up and you deliver from the heart, and you've got your stories and your humor and you land your message, someone is going to get an answer they've been praying for. In some way, metaphorically, they haven't laughed for years, or had hope in the area where you teach for years, or had inspiration to go for it years. And you're going to be and just drop into their life this brilliant, brilliant gift. So I want to just represent that, because even I can forget that too with talking so much about the sales tactics. So a couple more questions and we're going to teach our next piece. Bridget, you're up. You just be.
I'm lame. So I look at life funny, right? I have some crazy things that I just see juxtapositions, and I'm always like sharing them with people because I love to make people laugh. But I'm just curious. I had this one instance working with a speaker that was going to go on stage, and I was helping him with his slides, and he's a doctor, and I used a little bit of sarcasm, and I'm wondering how does sarcasm work with humor?
It works with your friends who get it and know your personality, but in front of an audience of strangers, it can be perceived as bitterness.
So one of our agreements we have at our events, especially we do our intensives, is no sarcasm. Because if you look at the definition of sarcasm, it is to mock or convey contempt. And the only time I think it's appropriate to use sarcasm is when you are dismantling a negative belief. So for instance, if someone had a spouse who said, don't buy anything when you go to that event, well, I need to get rid of that negative belief. So I may be sarcastic about that belief in order to make it like a hot potato that they want to drop. Remember the game Hot Potato, where it's like you throw the thing? If we're sarcastic about it, it makes the belief hot, and they don't want to hold the belief. They want to get rid of the belief. The reason I don't like sarcasm also is usually when people are done being sarcastic, what do they say? Oh, I was just kidding, right? And that's another way of saying, oh, I was just lying. So if we're sarcastic, we're lying from stage and we're breaking the strength of our word. So unless you're being absolutely clear, hey guys, I'm going to be sarcastic on this thing, or be sarcastic and then go, just be clear, I'm being sarcastic because I really don't blah, blah, blah. Then it makes sense and then it lands.
So the question is, what I'm sharing, I'm wondering if it is sarcastic or not.
You want to tell us what
How
it
would I
is?
know? Yeah, so I'm backstage. A speaker's gonna go out. We're having lunch. The crew backstage, and speaker is going on at 1, and he wants to make edits to his slides. He's a doctor. He's a cardiologist. And I said, sure, come over here. And I go to the computer and I pull up his slides and I start making edits. And he gives this big sigh. Gosh, I got to learn PowerPoint. And I took a big sigh and says, yeah, I got to learn heart surgery.
I get where you're going with it. I think drawing a line between PowerPoint and heart surgery is a big line, though. There's a big, like, I wouldn't equate them the same. I get where you're going.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not crazy about the story.
All right. Thank you.
Here's, like, I'll give you an example of why. So I don't know if you know, I used to be a realtor. By the way, do you guys know it's pronounced realtor, not realtor? So I had this girl I worked with, and she would get so pissy about it being called realtor. And she goes, it's called a realtor, not a realtor. They don't call it a docator. So she was saying being a realtor is on the same level as being a doctor. I do not think so. And so drawing a parallel, it almost makes you seem too full of yourself, like PowerPoint's as big as being a heart surgeon. Like, really, you don't have to go to PowerPoint school for 8 years. Well, maybe you do to be on your level, but you get what I'm saying? Cool. Let me show you where sarcasm can work. And I want to talk to you about the rule of, well, Kevin, can you talk to people about the rule of 3?
Sure. The number 3 is an almost mythical number in the human race. I mean, humans respond to things in 3s much better than they do things in 2s or things in 4s. There's a reason why there were 3 Stooges on screen at any given time and not 4 or 2. There was a reason why there were 3 main Marx Brothers. There's a reason why there's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It is, you can find unlimited, morning, noon, and night, good, better, best, beginning, middle, end. Humans respond to 3s. So if you upend the third part of a list of 3s that you're giving with something that they don't expect, because laughter occurs when the mind is tricked. We like to say you lead them down the garden path and then you turn on the sprinkler. Okay. So when the human, if you set up the expectation, and I'm just going to throw something out of my head right now, morning, noon, and night. If you say morning, noon, and not right now, I'm sleepy. Whatever. Middle, beginning, thank God this is over. Or beginning, middle, thank God this is over. If you switch that third thing to something that they don't expect, then they laugh. They think that is funny. And if you do it on the second one, it's not going to work. If you do it on the fourth one, it might work, but not as well. If you watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail, they spend 5 minutes talking about the procedure for the holy hand grenade of Antioch. And for you must count to 3. You shall not count to 2, except it be followed by 3. Nor shalt thou count to 4. 5 is right out. So it's 3. 3 is a magical number to the human race.
Who here has seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail? If you haven't, go watch it. That's part of your homework to be funnier. So
yeah, we'll wait. You guys go watch it right now. We'll wait.
Yeah.
Why are you still here? Go watch it.
I need to find that hold music from Monty Python. We got Betsy to laugh. So, all right. So here's what I want you guys to do. Get out a piece of paper or turn to a piece. You can do it on a computer as well. And I want you to draw this. Draw a circle, put a line through it, and then draw some rays coming off of it. This is one of the tools that Kevin and I put together to help people create humor for their presentations. So, Bridget, we're about to bring you back up. So what do we want you to do on the top side is write down, what are some great benefits of having what you sell? And then on the bottom side, what could be some negative outcomes of having or not having what you sell? We call it.
So the great benefits.
Yep. So just write some stuff.
Oh, okay.
Am I having her write that correctly, Kevin, for that exercise?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you could just divide a piece of paper in half and in the top half write benefits and then write the other in the bottom half. You don't need to do the sunburst thing,
So
although it can be helpful.
I like pretty pictures. So Bridget, I'll take notes for you. Just tell us some.
The benefits are increased authority.
Hang on. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Bridget, what do you do?
Oh, I'm a presentation design expert. I help speakers up-level their slides to match their expertise.
Ah, okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, increased authority.
Increased respect.
I'm gonna write these down as you say them.
More connection with their audience. More joy in delivering their talk. Higher conversions because the audience is clear on what they're delivering. Freedom to present without having to worry about doing their own slides.
Bridget, let me ask you a question, and I know this is always hard to quantify, but just for the sake of discussion, how much does your average client spend on your services?
Average about 4,000.
Okay. Keep going.
You wanted to keep going on positives or switch over to the other side yet?
No, keep going on positives because a lot of our positives are similar.
A new realm of communication from the visual aspects that has higher retention for the material. I don't know how to put that short in a bullet, but
Is Jase creating? Jase is creating this, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, because if you were creating it, would look good. I tease Jase all the time because I've seen him completely redo his slide deck 5 minutes before he has to go on.
Kevin. Actually, I've told them that. You guys, I've seen all kinds of speakers redo their decks. I don't know why we do it. We just do. I think we feel the room or something. So Bridget,
I confirm that.
I'll tell you is that I think when people have like slides the way you make them, it up levels their game. It makes them look more professional, and it provides them the leverage to get to the next level. Like it allows people to get to the next level.
Yes, I like that.
Okay, so what are the negative aspects?
Tell me more about that, the negative aspects of doing it for them.
Yeah, yeah.
The negative aspects are once I give them their slides, if they don't understand how we built the slides, they go to try to edit them and they usually break.
Okay.
If they don't listen to me as far as the other ancillary suggestions and strategies I give them, like practicing with their slides, having the timing correct, they won't present as well.
Okay.
Some of that timing is like clicking a couple of seconds ahead of when you're going to speak to that slide.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So let me test my understanding. When editing audio and video for television, we would always, like, let's say this is the video edit right here. Okay. We would put the sound edit. So if the video edit happens right where my nose is, right there, we would put the sound edit here or here.
Like before it or after it?
Either way, it just depended on the particular story we were telling. So that you would see a video change and then you would hear the change happen, because if you do
Correct.
them both at exactly the same time, it can get weird. And that kind of sounds like what you're saying about clicking right before you start talking about it. So
Oh,
that
yeah,
image
what
pops up.
happens, yeah, what happens
go
is speakers click and they're looking at their downstage monitors, see what's next, and they pause for a second so they can say, oh, I need to talk about that now. And then they talk. And what happens is this pregnant pause in the audience that's just really kind of upsetting. And I coached a speaker one night to not do that, click 2 seconds ahead. And she says, I can do that. And I said, why? Yeah, of course. She says, isn't that cheating? I was like, how is it cheating? She said, well, because I'll know what to say next. I said, well, then cheat away, because it really helps with the audience.
Okay. All right. I like that. Okay, keep going.
The negatives.
Well, here's
Well,
something.
so
Here's something humorous you can add right there. And like when you are speaking to a group, you can say to them, I advise you to click on the next image about 2 seconds before you finish speaking about the previous image, so that your mind automatically goes into the next thing. And some of you may be saying, isn't that cheating? Yes, it is. All's fair in love and presentations.
well, in the old days when we would run slideshows for live events, we would have a clicker. And so we would be tied to the clicker. So the person is clicking a clicker and we're seeing a light. So when he clicks, I see a light and then I react and I advance the slide. So it's human, delay. And we tell the speaker ahead of time, please click 2 seconds before you want the slide to show, because there is that delay of 2 seconds. But working with digital now, when they click, it automatically moves the slide. But they're so involved in doing it all themselves, they don't practice their talk. They don't know what's coming next. They're too in the moment. And so they rely on their downstage monitor to remind them what to talk next. So it's like, you want to keep going through it, click ahead. And it is a timing thing, just like when you're learning to sing or learning to play an instrument. You want to practice and you'll get so much better.
So let me pull you back to the negatives though, like to go back into this exercise for the sake of time. All right. And we got it. So a negative I see, Kevin, and is this what you want her to deliver as well? Is if people use her slides and they make a bunch of sales, they could get really, really busy. Is that a negative? Did you catch maybe?
Well, you could frame it comedically as a negative. You could say, when you work with me, your presentation will have greater respect, your presentation will have greater authority, a deeper connection to your audience, and on the downside, you're going to have to sell a lot more product. See, so there's 1, 2, and then 3 is the switch. Or 3, you're going to be spending a lot of time filling orders. Sorry, So that's that is one application of the rule of 3. The first 2 set up the expectation, and the last one is a twist that upends the expectation.
So for all of you, if you're doing this for your work, you guys, you could pick 2 from the top and then a third one from the bottom. And just the structure of it by itself could be humorous. So one of the ways you can start creating your humor is by doing things like that in your presentation. And then that also starts to handle some of your objections as well. Because now you're saying, look, you're gonna get this, you're gonna get this. Oh, but you're gonna be busy. Because time's a thing, time's usually a big objection, but you're gonna be busy because you have so much business, which is gonna help overcome the money objection people have.
And I've got something for you, Bridget. Feel free to make use of it if you like.
Okay.
So when people ask the inevitable question, but why do I want you to prepare my decks, right? You can say to them, because I make $4,000 look like $40,000.
Very nice. Cool.
And actually have proof of that with a client.
Yeah. I've seen it. You did Jase's deck the last time I saw a Jase deck, did you not?
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome.
Each slide is like a little mini work of art.
Yeah, really.
Exactly. That's what I say.
Cool. Let's give Bridget a big whoosh. Thanks, Bridget. Ready, and whoosh.
Thank
And then also,
you.
we didn't wish Sonia. We sent Sonia off without a whoosh. Let's send Sonia one. Ready, and whoosh. Sonia. There you are. You got it. Cool. Are you guys, let me check in where I can see all of you guys. Are you guys getting value from this? Are you getting some ideas and concepts on this? Great. Now, one thing you may be noticing too, it takes work. If you want to have a world-class presentation, the first part is you just fill out the template. That's it. Then you go back and start to layer in the comedy and the language patterns and all that. And to do the comedy, guys, it takes work. There's no two ways about it. And one of the things I want to encourage all of you to do is to get an app like Evernote or Keep and put it on your phone, or get a notebook and capture your ideas. Your ideas are like dreams. If you don't capture them right away, they'll just disappear. So if you have an idea, you got to write it down. It's our mantra: write it down, write it down, write it down. If you have an idea, write it down. That's so important. Cool. Then Arlene, you had a hand up too. We'll go to Arlene is one of our last questions, and then I want to teach you guys something, then we'll take a break. Arlene.
Well, I'm going to go back a bit. I kind of got confused about when you're introducing yourself on a stage.
Yes.
And should that be like something like 1 or 2 sentences?
Oh, okay. Well, Kevin was saying the best introduction's a video, right? That's made, that's perfect every time. That's the ultimate introduction. It gets them in state, even if it's a small crowd. You guys, when I'm using my introduction video, even if it's like 5 people in the room, I might say, hey guys, it might seem weird for you to have someone show an introduction video with just 5 people, but I want to deliver for you the same what I would for 500 people. And so they're like, ooh, that's really cool. Thank you for that. And then showing them the video still helps, because who has videos? Professionals have videos. Amateurs don't. So simply having a video positions you separate. After that, yes, you want to have introduction, probably about a paragraph, not too long. You don't want them going on and on and on, just a paragraph. Or what I like is I'll tell them, hey, just bring me on stage. I'll do my own introduction.
That's what I wanted to know. When you do your own introduction, that's exactly the part I was confused on. When you do your own introduction, not a video, not somebody else, but your own.
What I do is I have them read my why and my brand promise. So they say,
read your why and
my
your
why and my brand promise. So they would say, hey, our next speaker is Jase Souder with World Class Speaker Academy. He believes you have a God-given mission only you can do. It could be fulfilled and funded through your business. And he's here to help you learn how to be a world-class speaker who makes massive impact, raving fans, and a rush of new clients. Everybody please stand up and welcome to the stage, Jase Souder, or please, do some jazz hands for Jase Souder, however it's being delivered. That's it. And then I'll come up, I'll go to my 3 questions by hook, and we're off and running.
But you didn't introduce yourself there. Somebody else introduced you. How do you introduce yourself when you get on stage?
I hide in the wings and I go, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker believes you have a God-given mission only you can do, and it can be fulfilled and funded through your business. He's here to help you become a world-class speaker, makes massive impact, raving fans, and a rush of new clients. Help me welcome to the stage, Jase Souder. Then I run up on stage. If it's a Zoom, you just have the other person read it.
Okay, I thought you would get on stage and say, hi, I am blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, blah. That's the other option. What you do is you walk out and you do it, and then you run off, and then you run on like this.
Okay.
You come out with a blanket over you, and then you do it, and then you drop the blanket, and you go, spectacular.
Okay.
I'm
really kind of sorry I asked.
Yeah, just to be clear for some of our linear thinkers in the audience, I was being sarcastic there about the blanket thing. You don't want to actually.
Okay. Thanks.
That said, Arlene Woosh, picture her having the world's greatest introductions. And all right, so last concept we're going to teach you right now is pauses. Kevin, you want to share anything about the value and your thoughts on pauses?
Sure. Pauses is what gives the audience the time to laugh or absorb or internalize whatever it is that you have just told them. I mean, you can make 5 great life-changing points, but if you run them all together, they may only hear the first one or the last one. You could tell them 5 of the funniest stories ever, but if you don't pause and give them time to laugh, you're cheating them out of their chance to enjoy what you're saying. But there are also times when no words are necessary. You know, something happens and any words that you would add to it right at that moment would kill the laughter and destroy the moment. And I believe Jase has a video.
Yes, I do.
For those of you young people, Johnny Carson was a host of a television show called The Tonight Show, now hosted by the guy, I can't remember his name, a really funny guy. And it was hosted by Jay Leno, but in the early days, it was hosted by Steve Allen, then Johnny Carson. This is Ed Ames. Ed Ames was an entertainer, an actor, and a singer who was sort of redwashed into playing an Indian, an Native American Indian called Mongo. And Johnny asked him, in his capacity as an actor playing a Native American, to give a demonstration of axe throwing. Okay, Jase, go ahead.
Hey guys, let me know if you can hear. Give me a thumbs up when I roll it.
What is the trick?
You hear it?
You throw underhanded?
No.
Overhanded.
It's an overhand throw. The trick is to keep your arm extended, and that way you break the microphone. You know, you keep your arm extended and put only one revolution on the once around on the way, but that's indefinite. All right.
One of the longest laughs in television history. And you notice Ed went to grab the tomahawk and pull it out of the thing, and Johnny grabbed him by the sleeve and dragged him back and went, no. Because there was nothing funnier than exactly what they were looking at.
And Johnny you guys notice he just milked it. And so the pauses are a space for you could land something funny, and then just the right pause, the right face, the right expression is even funnier, or milks that moment instead of rushing to the next. And then also, have you guys ever been to a movie and there's just like laugh and then laugh, and you miss the next thing that's funny because people are laughing so loud? Well, we're doing it live. We don't have to do that. Kevin, I don't know if I ever told you the story. I wrote a presentation for a woman. She was one of the top millionaires in isogenics, and she was speaking at their multi-thousand person event. And we put some humor points in that were really good. And she nailed this one humor point, and the entire audience is losing it laughing. It's what you want, right? You want to give them experience and milk it. But she'd never been to our training on delivery, and she literally goes like this. Shh. Right on the humor point. I was like, oh, and it just. And also talk about humor points. Kevin mentioned this when he's talking about packing the audience in. You guys, the same humor kills with 400. It might fall flat with 4 or 40, because the laughter is contagious, the ripple's contagious. And the more people in the room, look, if you got 50 people really laughing, the people next to them will start laughing because they're laughing. It's easier to be a better speaker, I think, and to be funnier as long as you have your material with a bigger crowd. You know, unless they're just the boring crowd. So
Sure. I mean, 100 out of 500 laughing sounds a lot better than, 10 out of 50 laughing.
yes, absolutely.
My favorite part of that video was Johnny looked at the audience a little bit, but he knew that if he kept looking at him, they would wait for him to say something. They would stop laughing. So he just looked down and started sharpening the axis. Giving something, clearly conveying to the audience that he wasn't going to say anything until he was good and ready, right? And so if the audience is laughing at something you've just said or done, close your mouth. Just keep your mouth closed. If you're looking at the audience, don't go, fine. I agree with you. Because the second you open your mouth, they think you're about to say something and they'll go, shh. So keep your mouth shut. You can nod, you can look down, you can look away, you can look anywhere, you can do anything. Just keep your lips together.
Nice. Awesome. Kevin, this has been great. So we're going to have to wrap up with Kevin in just a moment. So I'd like to hear from a few people. What is your big takeaway? Any last questions and then also takeaways? What's your big takeaway from today? We get 4 or 5 people, do some power shares. Please raise your digital hand so I can see you. Love to hear from some people we haven't heard from yet. I'll start calling people up if hands don't go up quick. Why are hands not up? Brett, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. You guys raise your digital hands, please, so I could see you. It puts you the front. There we go. All right, Bridget, what's your big takeaway?
Well, the rule of threes.
Awesome.
And then the pause that I've been in a lot of events, as a worker, and I've seen that success and everything you're saying, Kevin, I've seen in real life work, and I love that you're outlining it for us so that we can look for it and make it better. So.
Thank you, Bridget. We'll wish everyone who shares at the end. Thanks, Bridget. Come on up, Mary Jo.
I think what you shared about audience, including ambiance and environment and distance from the stage, all that was very valuable. And also how humor is different from comedy, how humor is our own take on the world. I have a daughter with a very dry sense of humor, and I love the way she expresses that because she sees the world through a whole different lens. So that's really fun. Stephen Wright came to mind while you were talking.
Yes, Stephen Wright is so funny.
But thank you very much.
By the way, I want to give all of you some homework. Speaking because you triggered me to think of this, Mary Jo, when you mentioned Stephen Wright. Here's your homework. You guys ready? Go on Netflix and YouTube and watch comedians. That's it. And find someone whose style you like. Like mine was Victor Borgia. I actually really love his comedic style, and he's so funny. Like I don't remember any of his humor. I just got it. I remember this. He'd say there's 3 parts. I always forget the third part to how you do this. Though the first part's this, the second part's this, and I forgot the third part. And it kills the way he does it. It's so funny. So you guys just start watching comedy and look for who has a style you like and emulate them. And then dry bar comedy is really great too, because it's all clean comedy. So you can see how people can be funny while being clean. I don't think as speakers, we have the space to go dirty for laughs. I think we need to keep it clean. So thank you, Mary Jo. Awesome. And you guys, Netflix, YouTube, there's so much up there to watch. Loretta, you're up.
I love the idea of actually looking at where you position or putting it in your contract that you are positioned in the night at a certain point, like after dinner, you said, or before the charity auction. And I've sung at some of those things. So once the auction is over, that's when the party begins. No one wants to sit there listening to someone talk. They want to get on with drinking and dancing and looking at their products. So I like keeping that in mind. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Loretta. Fantastic. How about Elle? You are up.
Okay, so I my mind was blown and I almost didn't hear what you were talking about because you know when your mind will start talking to you so loud sometimes that you can't hear what the person is speaking. When you told us that people are most open just after laughter, my first thought was why? And then my brain just started flooding me with all the reasons why, and they're all awesome. They're all positive. They're all good reasons, making that human connection. And so that was really valuable as a way of keeping in mind to putting a little more humor in your presentations. And what I've learned from polishing mine lately, speaking as much as I can locally, is that there are parts in my presentation I didn't know were funny, but the audience laughed. And so now, as I'm refining it, I'm giving pause, knowing that probably instead of running right into, you know, what I was about to say, knowing that probably people will be laughing at something that I didn't even know was funny.
Beautiful. And that's how you guys, that's how you build a presentation too. You speak and then something, or you'll say something funny and they laugh. And if you have an assistant, you'll be like, write that down. Or you just take your pen and go, you guys, that was funny. I got to write that down. I'm gonna use it next time. So I'll share with you how one of them came about. Have you guys all seen the picture of me, like before I started my personal growth journey and I'm wearing that horrible outfit? Have I talked about the white van in the background? So in this, so I've shown this picture. Actually, Kevin, talk about something for a minute while I find this picture.
Yeah, boy, trying to capture funny things that happen in the moment is a wonderful idea. In my show, my Sound Alike guy's name was Troy. Troy was the other performer in the show because he did all kinds of cool audio drops that were spontaneous depending on what was coming up from the audience. But every once in a while, an audience member would shout something out that was hilarious and apropos. And I would just literally look up at the booth and say, Troy, write that down, please. And then, and I do go, Troy go, okay, I got it. And then I would pull $1 out of my wallet and hand it to the person and go, I always pay my writers.
Well, that's awesome. That is so awesome. So this is something that happened along those lines. So I think most all of you've seen this picture. When I'm doing my presentation, I talk about all this great stuff and how, you know, awesome my life is. And then I say, and that was me back in 2001. And I say to the audience, how much confidence do you think he had? How much money was he making? How many dates do you think that guy went on? And one show, this guy yells out, I said, so how many dates do you think that guy went on? And one show, this guy yells out, with the killer van in the background, probably not many. And everybody starts laughing. I start laughing. I'm like, that's funny. And then I'm like, wait, that was not my van. That van belonged to a guy I worked for, right? So I just got an error message. Were you guys able to see the picture or no? Because I just got an error message on. You were? Okay. So it was so funny. I'm like, I got to use that again. So the next time I show it, all I did is I show it. I go, how many dates you think that guy goes on? And then I said, you know, at my last show, this guy yelled out with the killer van in the background, not many. So everybody, it's same laughs. It worked just the same, me telling the story about what happened. And now when I show it, I'll go, you know what someone said once? And I'll say it. And then I'll play it up and I'll be like, it wasn't my van, which, you know, adds to it because I'm, you know, you get what I'm saying? So you're just adding little things. And the more little pieces you can do to get them involved, the more to be. Now, I will tell you what is difficult in the world of being funny speaker. If you're at an event, actually, Elle, thanks for coming up. Anything else? Because I want to ask Kevin a question. Great, thanks. We'll wish everybody a second. If you're at an event where the other speakers have not been great speakers nor funny, I find I'll get up there and I'll start being funny, and the audience almost does this. They're like, and then they look at their neighbor like, is it okay to laugh? Sure. Are we supposed to be laughing? And then they'll start laughing more. I'll make a comment like, you know, like if one person laughs, I'll be like, you know, if you could run around, it would sound like everyone's laughing. Or I'll say something like, you know, I don't like those laughs where everyone laughs. I like the one at a time laughs. And then that, if they start to get that I want them to laugh, right? But Kevin, how do you handle that? Or what advice would you have for speaking in a room where the other speakers either weren't good or weren't funny?
Well, that's gold for you, isn't it? I mean, that's a gold mine. I mean, I would prefer to have everybody do a great job, and I would prefer to walk onto a hot stage where the audience is fired up and ready for whatever's coming next. That would be my preference. In the absence of that, if everybody eats it, then when I walk out on stage, by comparison, hopefully, I'm going to shine out like gold. Because what I do and say is prepared, it's funny, it's audience tested, and it's good. So if you walk out onto a stage, a cold stage, that's what we call it. We call it a cold stage, where nothing good or entertaining has happened before you. Stick to your game plan. Your immediate reaction is going to be to start rushing to get to the next funny thing or to get to the next life-changing point. Avoid that, resist that temptation, get that devil behind thee, and just stick to your game plan. Give them your presentation the way you rehearsed it and the way you have practiced it, and that will eventually bring them around, and you'll have them in the palm of your hand.
Awesome, thank you. All right, last one is Cindy, and last one. What do you
Well,
got?
I just want to thank Kevin for all his words of wisdom, because the thing I love the most about today was the sun rays rule of 3, where you answer objections with a benefit. I mean, you know, how cerebral is that?
Awesome, perfect, and thank you so much. Let's send a big wish to everyone who shared and asked questions. Let's picture them rocking out their stages. 1, 2, and 3. Whoosh. And then Kevin, any final thoughts from you? You're muted.
Kat, when are you going to get up here and tell everybody what a genius you think I am? Come on, we've worked together. We've performed together. We've suffered at the same Fringe Festival together.
My favorite thing is where you were tying your posters to the bicycles so that it wasn't illegal to be posting on the public buildings. You're like, well, the bicycle's movable.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so thank you. What Kat's talking about is she and I did a Fringe Festival together, and they were very adamant about not putting posters up on any lampposts or buildings, or even the disused graffiti colored busted in window newspaper box that was there inexplicably. I got yelled at for putting a poster on a busted out unused newspaper box. No posters, right? And so I thought, well, I want to have a poster. So what I did was I went to Goodwill, and for $5 I bought a kid's bicycle. I bought 3 of them actually, and along the avenue of the festival, I chained the 3 bicycles and put my posters on them. Now, I didn't care if those bicycles got stolen because they were $5 kids' bikes from Goodwill. But what I cared about was the fact that posters for my show were on the avenue where nobody else had posters. And then, son of a gun, somebody came along and stole each of the bicycle seats off the 3 bikes, which that blew my mind, because who wants to steal a child's bicycle seat? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with a child's 1, much less 3? But yes, so the lesson here, always look for non-traditional ways to promote what you're doing. Look for the unexpected, look around the environment, see what's there, and figure out how you can use it. And incidentally, the festival producers were furious that I did this, but there was nothing they could do.
It's you improvising, it's you going, yes, and you're going, oh, is that the rule? Yeah, absolutely. I won't post it on it, but this is the thing. It's like going, okay, how can my brain think laterally, or not laterally, around that problem? And I just loved it. It was great.
Oh, thanks, Kat. And by the way, that was 2 years ago this week.
It was this week. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Sad times, but it was wonderful and fun. And
thanks,
yes,
Kat.
it was.
Appreciate it. All right, guys, has Kevin been great today? Who's think Kevin is fantastic? Kevin, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you and love you. So you guys, if you're interested, part of Black Belt, Kevin and I actually do 3 days on comedy and how to write it and do it. And we actually have it's called Be Funny, Make Money, the Speakers Comedy Camp. And we have a part 2, which is just 3 days of improv. So Kevin, you're just a gift and a delight. Have you guys had an awesome experience with Kevin here? If you have, put him up. And let's send Kevin a big wish. Let's picture him, his endeavors being amazing, touching lives, succeeding, having a great time with the fam. And I believe your kid's about to go to college. What's happening so personally?
Oh, well, if I can brag for a second, my daughter just graduated from college, and she graduated with a job working on the heart unit of a big hospital here in the Midwest. So that's great. And my son just graduated from high school. He is off to Ball State tomorrow to study music production.
Wow.
So he may end up being your sound guy. Always be good to your sound guy.
Always. So let's picture Kevin's kids succeeding massively and them having great times. 1, 2, and 3. Whoosh. Kevin, love you so much. All right, guys, 10-minute break, 10-minute break. Be back in 10 minutes, ready to go. You could stay in here. I'm going to turn off my video. We'll see you in 10 minutes, you guys. 10-minute break. We'll start at 6 after.